Mark?
Brandon. You do have the autofocus off, right? Just to make sure, we're trying out this whole new thing, so we've been kind of a little busy this morning. We got, if you're watching the video, you'll see there's these microphones in our face, so hopefully the sound will be a little better, and we'll be more aware of us talking into the mics, so it's not so inconsistency. Yeah, we like consistency.
Yeah.
But welcome to the Gnostic Deluge.
A very special episode.
Very special episode. This one, actually, because I texted Brandon earlier this week, and I was like, oh, man. What was my text?
Oh, it was something about the comprehension of it, or if what I think from it, or what?
Yeah, it was... Did that thing with the Spotify ever get fixed?
I don't think so.
Okay, I never actually checked. I told you I would, but sorry for our Spotify listeners if there's something.
Yeah, the feed isn't updating for some reason. We're looking into that.
Oh, have you? I texted him. Have you looked over gender? I am having a hard time figuring out what they're trying to say.
That's not what Mark said. He's never had a hard time figuring that.
It says it right there. And Brandon's like, I looked it over several months ago. This was this week that I texted him.
Yeah,
this is how Brandon rolls. And anyway, so I say, okay, well, I think I'm gonna have to give it a read over a few times this week to get the idea. And then Brandon's like, let me jump into it. And
did I?
He did. He says, read them last night. And he says the first one wasn't helpful, but it was shorter. Anyway, so he says the mental gender chapter is more significant. Anyway, so
did we mention that today we're going to be going over the principle of gender?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In the Kybalion.
Well, anyway, yeah. So we're doing the Kybalion by the 3 initiates, and this is the final. We're on the final countdown, as that band said.
What band is that?
Europe?
Sounds right.
Anyway, so cue final countdown here.
Yep.
Just think of it in your head.
I would sing it, but I'm sure that we'll get
you
copyrighted.
can't get that high.
We'll get copyrighted.
Yeah, because your voice is so.
It would
so
think
close
I'm the same. It would think that that's
they're
me.
Like, oh my gosh, it's perfect pitch. So anyway, but first we want to start off with a little surprise for
a surprise.
A complete surprise.
Oh, we haven't done any LaCroix.
Yeah, so we got a LaCroix. This is a limoncello.
Never had it.
It's good. Okay.
I've only tried the pamplemousse.
Yeah, that's the best LaCroix in the variety
pack. Is it
pack.
better than these?
No.
Okay.
But the pamplemousse is good. But this one, okay, the limoncello is like a little Italian alcohol, that's like lemon with cream in it.
I don't think I knew that.
But this one obviously is just the naturally flavored sparkling water.
Oh, this is not the real thing.
What do you think?
It's pretty good for LaCroix.
Yeah, it's got that. There's no sweetener in it. It's just lemon and a cream flavor.
I'm gonna be. That's the thing. I'm gonna be honest.
What?
LaCroix fans, they never are completely honest. What you should say is, that's good for a LaCroix.
For a LaCroix.
Because people don't like. Oh, this is a really good drink.
It's not like drinking a regular soda.
You're not drinking like a Mountain Dew or something.
I think most people that drink LaCroix mix it with alcohol. They use it to they mix it with vodka or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're doing it to get drunk.
Of course,
it tastes good.
Just be honest.
Yeah,
it's good for a LaCroix. Or like
they've got to bear their cross.
Like I like to call it.
They've got to bear their cross.
That's what I was gonna play around with that word too.
Oh, dang!
I was gonna say LaCroix.
LaCroix.
What a
Crocs.
What a Crocs.
Anyway, but this one's probably one of the best.
Yeah, I actually like it, Mark.
You've I'm sure
I like
you've
it.
never had the limoncello drink, but it tastes a lot like it.
I don't think I even knew what limoncello was. I thought when I saw limoncello, I thought it was like a special type
It's
of...
like a little liqueur they'll give you, like an aperitif, I guess.
Is
If
that French or
that
something?
might be, probably.
Mark's very
It's
cultured.
all Greek to me.
Very cultured.
An aperitif, you may have heard. My fiancé. They're all French words.
Yeah.
Anyway, suddenly I just break into random French words. Croissant.
I have like 3 I know.
Baguette.
Oh, yeah, good one. Good.
Yeah, croissants. We got donuts.
So this is so like unscripted. We haven't even talked about it. Are we going to do this in one episode? Or are we going to go over these two? Because
We're going to see.
Okay, we're going to see. We're going to see how this goes.
Yeah, I got notes, but
So
there's so much in this one that I was like, I
There's-
was going to break down this whole thing.
There's 2 chapters left that we have in the Kybalion. And they're both chapters on gender. And I think at first we thought that we're going to try and do them separately. We'll see. We might be able to get them all into this one. Because as I said in that text that you read, Mark, the first one, I mean, it's
short.
There's good information in there. I just didn't.
I think it's interesting because it kind of sets the tone that because it's the chapter's entitled gender.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, gender's obviously can be in a contentious issue or whatever, but they set the stage that this is not about sex or even gender like you think.
Correct. Before it goes into all the like
So
negative,
actually
stuff.
this is the one that is kind of the thing to where it's like, okay, this isn't even about what you think it's about. So it is, but it's not. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just get into it. Okay.
Want me to read the
Yeah.
axiom?
Yes.
Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles.
Does the gender gap manifest on all planes too?
Correspondence, I would
The
say.
gender pay gap, dude.
Yeah. I would say so.
Like, even on the spiritual plane. Anyway. They get paid 77 cents to the dollar. Anyway, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I went there, man.
Mark went there.
So, okay, we're just going to, I don't know how you want to do this, but I'm just going to kind of go through the things I have underlined.
Please do.
Because, actually, I'll go, because so the thing is that there's gender manifests in everything. Okay. And then, but we're thinking as human beings.
Yeah.
We're thinking, oh, that means male and female. Mm-hmm. It's in and it's like, no, that's not what they're talking about. This is where they want to, when they say there's masculine and feminine principles that are present in all phases of phenomenon. So they want to differentiate.
It's a tough word.
Between what hermeticists mean when they say gender and what we think of sex in the ordinary accepted term of the use, that they're not the same. So, please, Brandon, next paragraph.
The word gender is derived from the Latin root meaning to beget, to procreate, to generate, to create, to produce.
So it's something to do with more with that than it is to do with.
It's about creation.
Gender comes from the Latin generare, to engender, to beget, produce. So that's what the whole thing. So they're not talking about the gender. Like we're always thinking about it, because when we think of gender, we're thinking of sex.
Yeah.
Okay, like this male and female.
Yeah.
We're thinking, okay, sex, here's where the distinction is. Sex is merely a manifestation of gender on the physical plane. For us. Mm-hmm. That's what the plane of organic life. That's what we're talking, we're like man and woman, And so, but that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about things that come together to generate or manifest new things, right? Is that if that makes sense? So the
generate is the key word.
Generate, yeah. But that's where the gener, rar, from Latin.
The words like genus, right? Gene.
Yeah.
What's funny is there's another word that actually comes from it too. I looked up the etymology of the word, and found that there's a lot of words that come from that. Even some words that don't use the root in the same way. I can't think of the example, so I should not have mentioned it. But yeah, there's a whole slew of words that we use every day that are all coming from this. That gender is that word gender comes from the same root.
But I'm saying in the specific times we're in, we have a certain idea, but we need to go beyond that, and they're going to take us into the Hermetic idea of it.
Yeah.
So just do not, whenever we're going to be talking about feminine and masculine, we're not talking about man and woman.
No, and those are
But we'll get into that.
Yeah.
So the next paragraph, the top of it. Oh, actually,
no, the end of this one, right?
Well, I was going to say the office of gender is solely that of creating.
Do we want to? Do you want to skip the? Should we mention this last thing they mentioned about?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well. Okay. So let me just finish.
You do what you need to do.
The office of gender is solely that of creating, producing, generating, etc., and its manifestations are visible on every plane of phenomenon. Sorry. So the gender in the Hermetic sense, man, those LaCroix have a lot of. Gender in the Hermetic sense is solely just about creating, producing, generating. So, but read your thing, because they were talking about sex. And
so here's and this is important. This is important.
Aleister Crowley and all these weirdos.
This is important because when I first was reading into this, in the back of my mind, I was aware of what this is going to reference, and I was a little cautious because of that.
You're like, oh great, where are they going to take us?
Yeah. So we wish to impress this distinction upon your minds, for the reason that certain writers who have acquired a smattering of the Hermetic philosophy have sought to identify this seventh Hermetic principle with wild and fanciful and often reprehensible theories and teachings regarding sex.
Dang it.
Yeah. So
this is not about like some weird cult.
And the thing is there's different concepts out there, and there's different beliefs, but it means that the three initiates or the writer of the Kybalion did not agree with where some people have taken gender.
Yeah, where they take it off to go more along the lines of sex magic and all this other stuff. But anyway, they're not. This is not what it's about. So gender is solely that of creating, producing, and generating. All right. So now they kind of go on to explain, because they want to talk about like physical manifestations of gender in the world, but they're like, okay, we're not going to take it. We're going to talk about atoms.
Yeah, and that's pretty much for the rest of the chapter.
Yeah.
For the rest of the chapter, and I haven't gone back and validated that this science is still in 2020 accurate.
Is it? It's basically.
I don't know much about that realm.
Well, anyway, I started to go into it because basically, okay, the atom. Here's the basics. The atom.
Are you wearing your scientist coat?
Dang it! Nope. But
your lab coat.
That's why I'm not, because I'm not pretending to be
This is authentic. Let's hear it, Mark.
So, this is just what I've researched or looked into on YouTube. So, Anyway, the atom, as we know, the atom is the smallest particle of an element that retains the element's properties. So it's the smallest. But in that atom, there's there's even smaller particles that make it up. Okay, so this is where the principle of gender comes in.
Okay,
so you've got the atom that's a created thing, but there's smaller particles that have made it what it is, made it this element, like say oxygen.
Okay.
I'm not, this is I think oxygen is like the easiest one, but anyway. Do you notice I have a little red thing in my eye?
Now I
like
do.
A little.
Now I do. I can't.
Anyway.
I'm not gonna be able to look at you the same.
Like,
the rest of
I can't look at him in the eye. Brandon's gonna be going like the whole time. Anyway, so I don't want to go too much into it, and I didn't.
Okay.
So don't worry about that. Because actually, I crossed out a whole thing. I was like, okay.
Yeah, there's a big X on that page.
But okay, so the basic thing is there's a nucleus for the atom. So the nucleus is made up of two parts: neutrons, which are neutral electric charge, and then there's protons, positive electric charge, and then protons, right? Did I say protons?
I think positive. You did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so you got that thing. So they're out there by themselves or together, like for whatever. And then what happens is there's electrons out there with a negative charge that are attracted to the protons.
Yep.
And as in the Bohr model that we see, what looks like whenever you see it, it's like you got the center with the nucleus, and then you got an electron going around it.
Yeah.
But that's just the model they
Correct.
have.
It's not that. Yeah.
It's not. But so for some reason, whenever the proton and the electrons come together, or it's attracted to it, and then it creates, by those two coming together, creates an element.
Correct. I got that. Yeah.
There you go. So you got the negative and the positive coming together, and this is kind of the idea of the gender that they're talking about.
Correct. The negative, which I believe it's in this chapter, also mentioned that the word negative today means something a little bit more than what it should mean.
Yeah, okay.
We associate negative as a bad thing.
Yeah, because they're saying the positive in this case is the masculine and the negative is the feminine.
But that doesn't mean that feminine attributes are negative.
Yeah, that's the thing.
At least in English, we use the word negative to mean something bad.
Yeah.
But the only reason why
it's got a negative connotation.
Correct. The only reason why we do is because we use the word positive as good, and so the opposite of positive the opposite of good must be bad, right?
Yeah. Where is that at? Where
it's a little bit later, and it's basic. It has to do right here with the cathode.
Oh yeah,
the so-called negative pole of the battery is really the pole in and by which the generation or production of new forms and energies is manifested.
Yes, so they're saying they're like, hey, this so-called negative, it's not negative. This is actually the thing that generates, and electricity too, because I watched a YouTube video on that too, where you got the the ends of the battery. It's actually the negative end that's creating the electricity, and then it goes through, like, say you got a light bulb in the middle, so it's trying to get over. You got a wire connecting it. It's trying to get over to the positive, but in the light bulb, anyway, it actually generates.
Correct.
It's not a negative thing. It creates what,
There is nothing negative about it, right? And this isn't. He says, and I don't know if this still stands today or not.
The cathode. Yeah.
Yes, but the best scientific authorities now use the word cathode in place of negative.
I should have looked that up, but I didn't. So.
The word cathode coming from the Greek root meaning descent, the path of generation, etc.
Yeah.
So I mean, the three initiates in this case, or this author is really saying it would be better because of the way we use the word negative today in our culture. It would be better to call it cathode because it's more cathode describes what the purpose or what the attributes of this pole are better than this us saying the word negative does.
Yeah. Well, actually, he goes further. He said, talks about cathode or the negative pole is the mother principle of the electrical phenomenon. And it says, so you will see we are justified in refusing to use the term negative in our consideration of the subject and insisting upon substituting the word feminine when we're talking about in the Hermetic thing, But they're trying to say, hey, this is, but they're trying to build the case that the negative and positive thing are the gender.
Yeah.
The same idea of gender, and it's manifest in all things.
And I think that's what a considerable amount of this why there's a separate chapter to introduce gender is because it's so important to realize that the feminine is not a negative aspect.
Yeah.
And if you were just to say, without this introduction and explanation on gender here, and without explaining that gender really is about creating and stuff, then the next chapter would, like what you mentioned earlier, it wouldn't really mean, it would be a lot harder to understand.
Yeah. So, okay, well, dang, I wish we had the same book.
We had the same book.
Well, I know, but, laid out in the same way, because I'm always like, oh, Brandon, read this part.
The latest scientific? I'm right there.
Yeah, but the second...
I got it.
The second sentence after
a feminine corpuscle. Is that how you pronounce that word?
Corpuscle.
A feminine corpuscle becomes detached from, or rather leaves, a masculine corpuscle and starts on a new career.
Okay.
Actively...
Yeah, go ahead.
It actively seeks a union with the masculine corpuscle, being urged thereto by the natural impulse to create new forms of matter or energy.
Okay, so it's talking about how these two things work together. For some reason, that what we're calling the feminine energy or corpuscle goes out and actually is seeking union with this as we're calling the masculine one, and by nature is urged to create new forms of matter and energy. So that's this gender thing we're talking about. It's just the natural thing. That's how we see it manifest in nature.
And that's not to get ahead of ourselves, but that's why everything is a thing, and it's why we exist. It's why it's existence.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the natural order, and it's the reason why everything is here.
Yeah.
Deep. That was very profound, Mark.
Well, I didn't say it. They said it. So, but this detachment and uniting form the basis of the greater part of the activities of the chemical world. This is everything that's going on, just like you said. When the feminine corpuscle unites with the masculine corpuscle, a certain process is begun. The feminine particles vibrate rapidly under the influence of the masculine energy and circle rapidly around the latter. So the result is the birth of a new Adam or a new Eve.
I get it.
I always got to do that.
Yeah,
always got to do it. This new atom is really composed of the union of the masculine and the feminine electrons. But when the union is formed, the atom is a separate thing. So they create this whole new thing by coming together. It's that generation, and that's what they're pushing. Brandon's getting. Brandon, do you want to get that?
No.
So.
All right. So, are we in the process of?
Or just go to the next paragraph.
Okay. The part?
Yeah.
The part of the masculine principle seems to be that of directing a certain inherent energy toward the feminine principle.
Oh, so you have the feminine thing kind of going out and seeking. Okay, I'm sorry. Going out and seeking out this union. Looking like it's got to create something. It's just naturally like attracted to, or
Creation.
feels that. Or yeah.
Yeah.
Just and so that's the feminine part. It goes, and makes this, helps create this new atom. So then now it's going into the masculine part. Sorry. Do you want to? I can.
Yeah. People are, and they think they need to like get a hold of us during our podcast.
Mm-hmm. You good?
Yeah, we're good.
All right. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the masculine principle. I'll read this then, if you want to.
Go for it.
The part of the masculine principle seems to be that of directing a certain inherent energy towards the feminine principle, and thus starting into activity the creative processes. Get the next sentence.
But the feminine principle is the one always doing the active creative work.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. They're like, dude, the woman, or not the woman. The feminine principle is actually doing the work. The masculine principle is just kind of like attracting it.
Yeah, and this is the key. And this is so on all planes. Yeah.
Okay, and then the next sentence. Go ahead.
And yet each principle is incapable of operative energy without the assistance of the other.
So they need each other.
Yep.
Masculine and feminine.
In some of the forms of life, the two principles are combined in one organism. For that matter, everything is in the organic world manifests both genders. There is always the masculine present in the feminine form. And the feminine form.
Yeah, I don't know why. But, okay, so it says that the two principles are everything in the organic world manifests both genders.
Yes.
Masculine and feminine. We'll get into that where especially in the physical world or the mental world, it's not the necessarily masculine and feminine. Everybody's got both.
We just see the physical manifestation of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Or sometimes it's hard to tell. You know, but I mean,
sometimes we don't see the physical manifestation.
Yeah, but like visibly, it's a lot of visibly, at least in like light in mammals and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell. There's a few clues you have to tell the physical manifestation of something, but it's not just one or the other.
Like whenever a plane flies by and you're like, that's a male plane.
Yeah.
Remember that joke?
No, I don't.
It's from Three Amigos. He's like,
yeah,
that's a male plane. And then the guy's like, really? How can you tell? And he says, didn't you notice the little balls?
Yeah, but on the plane? I don't get it.
Stupid joke.
Three Amigos, there's no planes, is there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
there is.
It's the Germans' plane.
Yeah.
Okay. That's your bonus right there.
How can you tell from me? That's the worst joke. Okay, but so anyway, the two things are they work together, masculine and feminine, to create something. But it's that, as they're saying, the feminine is doing the principal active creative work. And actually it's because even an electron, it'll be the merging of to create like compounds and stuff, like the negative ones will come together and create a compound, like a H2O or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's how if they're, anyway, I don't want to, I've watched I've watched minutes of YouTube videos, I was enthralled. I've watched over 15 minutes of YouTube videos. But no, it's cool because like the outer edge, there's always, if the outer edge of the negatives aren't full, they'll be more likely to be able to combine with other, if they're a complete atom, that they're not, it's kind of like oil and vinegar, or oil and water. They won't mix.
Correct.
For some reason. Anyway. Okay, so but they say we're not going to worry about attractions or repulsions of atoms, loves and hates of atomic particles. But if you think about that, the attraction or cohesion. Oh, and I was just talking about that cohesion between molecules of matter. But they're not going to talk about that. But have you ever considered that all of these things are manifestations of the gender principle? So you're like, whoa, man, it's everywhere.
Yeah, you start seeing the code in the walls, right?
Yeah. Like, wait, is that a male wall?
Everything opens up.
Everything opens up. So, but it says that strange attraction by reason of which all particles and bodies of matter in the universe tend toward each other is but another manifestation of the principle of gender, which operates in the direction of attracting the masculine to the feminine energies and vice versa. Oh, it has a question mark. I don't know why they said that.
And vice versa, question mark, yeah.
And vice versa?
It's almost like as if they're wondering if it goes both ways.
It goes, okay, Brandon, read the next sentence.
We cannot offer you scientific proof of this at this time.
Yeah, so we're not going to either.
Yeah. But examine the phenomena in the light of the Hermetic teachings on the subject and see if you have not a better working hypothesis than any offered by physical science. Submit all physical phenomena to the test, and you will discern the principle of gender ever in evidence.
Yep. So, and I thought this is a pretty good little primer.
It was. I think at certain points, I was kind of like, okay, I got the point.
I get it.
I get it. But yeah, exactly. This is a primer for the mental gender. The next
mental gender, man.
The next chapter.
Yeah. Gender. So hopefully we didn't read too much. I don't know.
No. We did a good job.
Yeah. So it's just there's the thing with the physical world, and they did a good job of not doing the thing with that we always go to, the male and female.
Yeah.
They're like, you know what? Let's just take it down to the most basic thing, the atom, and we're not going to mess with the male and female because that's not what we're talking about necessarily. And now we go from the physical to the mental. We're doing mental gender.
Mental gender is chapter 14, Kybalion. And so this one, because it's an extension of the previous, there's no axiom for this chapter.
Yeah.
Just the same. Male and female are evident in everything, right? Isn't that what it was?
Yeah. And the whole idea is a common idea of the mental gender, or the division in mind, dual mind, as they say.
Yeah.
Some of the things that they use, or the idea, objective or subjective mind, like these two, kind of like poles.
Yeah.
In a way.
Sure.
Conscious, subconscious, voluntary, involuntary.
And you find a lot of discussion on that
left
today.
And right brain.
Correct.
Well, left and right brain meant it.
You do. The left and right hemispheres.
Oh, he's creative. Oh,
yeah,
he's logical.
Exactly. You find a lot of that.
That's true.
And there's a lot of discussion about, especially when people are discussing like the phenomena of consciousness and what is consciousness. There's a lot of discussion on that, different levels of consciousness, and more of the subjective mind versus the objective, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that you can read about, and there's.
Yeah, you can if you look into psychology or anything, you'll see this all over the place, and so that's why they just use those examples. They're like, okay, these, you're just gonna see it all out there, but they're like, okay, so this is something that's common, but the Hermetic doctrine of the principle of gender on the mental... Wait. The Hermetic doctrine, the ancient Hermetic doctrine of the principle of gender on the mental plane, the manifest... Oh, I don't know why I wrote that. The idea is that the ancient Hermetics teachings are all these kind of ideas were taught in the Hermetic doctrine, this dual mind.
Yeah.
And that these are manifestations on the mental plane. So, and so it goes into breaking down the masculine and the feminine principles.
Did you smile when you heard? When you read?
I was like giggling
when you
like
read
a schoolgirl for some reason. I'm gonna get me another soda.
What, you don't? Are you doing that LaCroix?
Yeah.
Oh.
So they're all read that part. That was funny. The
student of Hermetic philosophy is tempted to smile when he, come on, three initiates, or she, when they read and hear of these many, quote, new theories regarding the duality of mind.
Yeah. So that's where that
it's
thing
like,
where I was talking about.
Yeah, we've been talking about that for
guys.
millennia.
Oh, nice breakthrough.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Hermes Trismegistus and his son Tat?
Asclepius.
But anyway, so that's where they smile to themselves because they already know about the Hermetic principle of gender on the mental plane. That's where that weird quote that I put out there fits in. Thank you, Brandon, for clearing that up. So anyway, let's skip a little bit to the masculine, where it says the masculine principle. Okay, so this is where they start. They're like, okay, we're going to define the masculine and feminine.
Yep. We referenced them earlier. Here's the definition, or here's the description.
Yeah.
The masculine principle of mind corresponds to the so-called objective mind, conscious mind, voluntary mind, active mind, etc.
Okay. So it's, I mean, one, I'm just like, okay, let's just.
So let's go over those different.
Break that up.
Yeah.
Down is like, it's the one that's, well, I guess they say active mind, but it's the one that's.
It's the one that we tend to not spend so much time in.
Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, next.
All right. The feminine principle of mind corresponds to the so-called subjective mind, subconscious mind, involuntary mind, passive mind, etc.
See, this is interesting because I'm like, well, why is the feminine principle, why is that the subjective, subconscious, or unconscious, involuntary mind, passive mind? I'm like, why is that? But they'll go on to explain it, so you might be like, what? The feminine one's the one that's subject to,
think of the...
that's where I was kind of like, why is the...
Think of the creation story, or think of the what was it called? The downward leaning nature, right? In the Hermes Pomandries vision. You know, think about in every plane of every plane. Think about the physical.
Yeah, we're gonna get into it. So this is okay. So they're just saying this is what we're defining masculine and feminine. And like I said, just because they're defining it masculine and feminine does not mean male and female. Mm-hmm. Don't make that mistake, guys. Don't go there. So they have a whole little, I don't know if there's anything.
No.
Okay, so there's a whole thing that they go into about how the Hermetic teachers,
Carbonation and Mark, they just don't get along right now.
How the Hermetic teachers of the past have teach you how to differentiate. I'm need a new word besides differentiate, because I can't say it right.
Differentiate, I hate that word.
Differentiate. How they can tell the difference.
It's especially hard after drinking the LaCroix.
Yeah. How they can tell the difference between the masculine and feminine mind. So let's go through this. This is a fun little exercise.
Okay. I'm excited.
So Brandon and audience, I want you to examine your consciousness regarding yourself. Okay?
Okay.
I'm just saying, think about this. Turn your attention inward upon yourself, the self dwelling within you. Well, you don't have to close your eyes.
I'm going to close my eyes.
Okay. So what what is yourself? Just think about that. What am I? What is this that's thinking? All right. Like, think about that. What's the deep question, you know?
What am I? Isn't that what Rene Descartes? That was his big thing.
Is it? I don't know how to say his last name. I thought it was
Descartes. Yeah, it could be one of those French S's.
Wait, it's.
Oh, you actually have it written here.
Yeah. Descartes. Is it Descartes?
Yeah.
I think it might be. Anyway, Rene. We're just gonna call him Rene.
That's a problem with reading, is you don't learn how things are pronounced.
No, but it's French, so it's like. But okay, so we're gonna sound dumb. It's either Descartes or Descartes. I think
silent S's.
But I think because it's French, Descartes.
Rene Descartes.
Okay, so I'm saying whenever you're in your mind thinking, what is, then you're like, I think his thing. I think, therefore I am. Mm-hmm. You know, kind of like I am. That's kind of the conclusion, is there's something there thinking that's outside of your body. That's not your feelings, or not your arms, or there's something up there thinking. So that's the conclusion that they point you towards, is I am. You know, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
You know, and that makes it a separate thing. Hopefully this will make sense. So, but if you look a little further into that, the Hermetic teachers will help you understand that actually this I am is actually divided into two distinct parts. Okay?
The I and the M.
Or the I and the me.
Yeah.
Or M, yeah. M for me.
Yeah.
That's true, though. But think about, not think about, but what's it? I am from the Bible.
Yeah, Moses.
I know, but what's the?
I am that I am.
Yeah, I am that I am, the self-existing one. But okay, you're not. You got to say, okay, I'm not that far. I'm not the self-existing one, because I'm in a body and there's more parts to me. Okay, so that's where the me comes in too.
So we have I and me.
Yeah. I and me. And these are mental twins.
The way I could be wrong here, but the easiest way for me to, when I say I'm referring, like, it's just like, it's a mental I. But I'm saying me as something that I can look at. It's something. Oh, yeah.
I am. Isn't that? Anyway. Yeah. Now I'm thinking about. Okay, sorry, Brandon. Keep going.
So when I think of me, I think of I can easily just look down and go, yeah, that's me.
No, so, I was saying you got the twins there.
I do have the twins. I have I have Pisces.
Yeah.
I have the.
Well, I'm saying the dual.
Exactly,
nature.
Pisces is dual.
Okay. So what you're saying about the... you're thinking up here in your mind, but your mind's contained.
But me is something that I can look at.
Oh, okay.
Like me. You know. I don't go I. You know.
Yeah. Like me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can point to.
Yeah.
Me. Okay.
I is not so sure where he's at.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Okay. Your mind's eye, if you take the I, I E I E Y E. I can't spell I E Y E. But okay, so E-I-E-I-O. But let us begin, with a consideration of the me, which
is usually mistaken for the I.
Yeah, so most of us are screwing up by thinking the me is the I. Okay, so this is where it gets into the... Okay, so this is... If you look at the... where it says a man...
Yeah, a man thinks of himself in its aspect of me as being composed of certain feelings, tastes, likes, dislikes, habits, peculiarities, characteristics, etc., all of which go to make up his personality or the, quote, self.
Yeah. So that's what, whenever we're thinking, most people are thinking of me or
Yes.
the self.
Yeah.
It has to do with the feelings and all this stuff. But
He knows that these emotions and feelings change, are born and die away, and subject to the principle of rhythm and the
Ooh.
principle of polarity,
oh,
which take him from one extreme of feeling to another. He also
this is important.
he also thinks of the me as being certain knowledge gathered together in his mind, and thus forming a part of himself.
Yeah.
This is the me of a man.
So the me part they're saying is composed of thoughts, feelings, tastes, dislikes, also knowledge
Well,
and memory.
this is what they're saying most people think
Yeah.
of the me.
Well, yeah. So let's just. But I'm saying, but also certain knowledge, facts you've learned. These are all things that we take. I'm just saying we identify ourselves with.
Yeah.
Like
I'm unique.
I feel this way. I like this thing. They even go so far. I love the thing because this reminds me of like high school and junior high and stuff, where you go so far as to identify yourself with the clothes you wear. You put on your
personal
outer
apparel as part of their me.
Yeah. So, so this is what we usually identify the me with. And this is part of the me.
Yeah.
But as this is what part of what makes us up. I'm trying to think where but as man rises in the scale of consciousness, he's able to disentangle his me from the idea of his body. So most of it, and but even then, he is apt to identify the me entirely with. Oh wait. Okay, so
And that's what I was doing. This is
What?
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're rising in consciousness, you can start to kind of disentangle you or the me from the idea of just your body.
Mm-hmm.
And then start to identify it with the mental states and different things, feelings that exist with you. But he's even apt to consider the internal states as identical with himself instead of being simply things produced by some part of his mentality. So he's even identifying. So it goes even further to. Hopefully, I'm making sense. Further. Even if he doesn't identify with his body, as he progresses, he's still identifying his feelings and emotions and stuff with himself. Okay. I don't know if
this gets a little
dude.
Well, this gets a little tough to explain because of
Okay.
We're talking about the same thing,
Yeah. Okay, so instead of there being simply things like his internal states, he's identifying with his internal. Okay, let's read it. He is very apt to consider these internal states as identical with himself, instead of there being simply things produced by some part of his mentality and existing within him, of him, and in him, but not himself. Okay, that's the important thing. They're in him, of him, but they are not necessarily him.
Correct.
Because regardless of how you feel, what emotions you're going through, there's still that guy that we were talking, that I am guy up there thinking, and he's not identified with
Correct.
these mental states.
All the things that are more mutable, changeable.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the big thing, actually. I'm glad you said that, because that's where is that these mutable, changeable characteristics, even your body and all this stuff, things can happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all these changeable things, there's still something that is consistent and exists, regardless of your mental state and you know the things that change, because it's kind of very Buddhist actually.
It
the
is.
rising and falling of these things, and that's one of the reasons you meditate is, you know, to kind of see, wait, this isn't me, because these things rise and fall. I mean, people are like, oh, I'm Irish, so I have an Irish temper.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
That's just me.
I've
But it's like,
defined-
well,
you've
you're not walking around angry all the time, are you? You know, so guess what? That Irish temper isn't you.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're nice.
And sometimes I imagine this happens for others, and so I'll have the audacity to go this direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But the thing is like I think that at least for myself, every once in a while, like something happens, and for one reason or another, whether I'm trying to do this or whether it just happens in the moment, I'll actually like step back and I look at everything and I'll see everything and I'll say, oh, this is real, isn't it? Like, and you're seeing things from a higher conscious view, and you see how like kind of silly we are sometimes.
Oh, stepping back and
Yeah.
being able to look at something.
Yeah.
You're like, what?
And you go, wow, this is actually a real thing that I just like so casually just live with,
Yeah.
you know. And that is the part that I think that we're referring to as the I am. Like, it's still there, and sometimes depending on what kind of lifestyle you live, everybody has different ways to live.
Yeah.
But some people try and go there more often. Some people claim they live there all the time. Some people don't live there at all.
But
it's the I.
Every once in a while you get that glimpse, though, like you said, where
The
you're like,
clarity.
wait, is this really happening? Like,
Yeah.
like you're able to detach and be like, wait, what's going? Like, this is just crazy.
Yeah, totally.
You know, and that's probably that I going saying that. So good, because I was getting a little bit. You know, I'm glad we had some clarity on that.
Yeah, it's real.
So.
Oh, it's happening right now, Mark. Oh my gosh, were we doing this?
Whoa, did we just do that? You can, you know, the person will see that that he may change these internal states of feelings by an effort of will. Okay, this is kind of work. So you're, you know, the initial thing is the body. You're like, this is me, you know, I got muscles or whatever, you know, that's what I do. And then as you're moving up, what I think, and I've been studying but then also, you know, my feelings, and then you get to another level and you can see, hey, I can actually manipulate these feelings, or not manipulate them, but change them. That I'm actually not subject to my feelings necessarily, or I can, with effort, change them. Okay, so this is where. So he sees that he may change these internal states of feelings by an effort of will, and that he may produce a feeling or state of the exact opposite nature in the same way, and yet the same me exists. So, and after a while, he's even able to set aside emotional and mental states, feelings, habits, you know, really, and actually put those, you know, oh, I don't have that problem anymore. I can even put that in the not me. But that requires a lot of mental concentration and power on the part of the student. But even people who aren't advanced, you know, obviously me, we can use our imagination and we can see how that could work.
Yeah.
You know, you can work through it. Okay, so now hopefully this makes sense. So in the next paragraph is where,
But the student?
after laying aside the process. Oh yeah, the student.
Okay. Which one? Which one of those? I got both.
The one that says after, yeah.
After this laying aside process has been performed, the student will find himself in conscious possession of a self, which may be considered in its I and me dual aspects. The me will be felt to be something mental in which thoughts, ideas, emotions, feelings, and other mental states may be produced. It may be considered as the mental womb.
Okay. All right. Or go ahead.
As the ancients styled it, capable of generating mental offspring.
Okay, so hopefully that it made sense where we went, because now it's saying if you can separate that I thing where he's like, okay, well, I can set these feelings, I can overcome this, and then or the body I can, or I can work on it or whatever. You can the process of laying aside these things, you discover that there's the I, which is the self, this thing that's above the rest. Okay, let's just call it that.
Sure.
The self exists, kind of like that. But the I, which is, and then there's the me, which is producing all these things, and you can take what you want from it. Like the me part is your physical sensations, your feelings, your emotions, all these things that are coming. But then the I can say, well, I want to go with that, or I don't want to go with that.
Yeah, correct. It's like,
hopefully this makes sense.
Yeah, so and in the masculine really and the feminine sense of it, right?
Mm-hmm. The me.
The me is where everything grows.
Is the mental? Yeah, they call it the me, the mental womb.
The mental womb.
Capable of generating offspring. Now the me contains all your memories, your feelings, your emotions, all this stuff that's has so much potential there.
Yeah, it's like the
that makes up everything you know.
Yeah, and it's a sandbox. It's like you can build whatever you want there.
Yeah.
Once you become aware of that.
Yeah.
But you can't build any of it. Up here. You can think of it, and you can conceptualize it.
Yeah.
But without action, and that's where the physical aspect of it, or you can't plant that seed. You plant the seed in the mental womb.
It's saying the me part is latent power of creation. If it doesn't have the I, it'll just produce things.
Yeah, exactly.
Things are just produced and coming up and rising and falling. You're all over the place.
And it's going to produce. It's going to produce. It's ripe. It's ready.
But it says, but I like how it builds it up. It's like, dude, its powers of creative energy are enormous. It's like this untapped resource that that some of us or people tap into a little bit, and kind of the personality thing, and like, oh, this is what I do this. This is the kind of thing I do. But it's even more powerful than you can ever even think, or as powerful as you can think, I guess. But it's like this huge, really untapped resource. And some people, you can see them, but what it needs is the masculine one of will, okay?
Mm-hmm.
He finds that there exists a mental something which is able to will that the me
act
along certain creative lines, and which is also able to stand aside. So the me or the the I can say, okay, wait, this is a good feeling. This is something that I like. And it can actually say, let's focus on that.
Yeah.
Let's work with that. And then it can actually stand aside as the me, the feminine force, creates these new
grows and builds and changes, depending on what seeds are planted in there.
Yeah. And this part of himself he is taught to call his I.
He is able to rest in its consciousness at will. He finds there not a consciousness of an ability to generate and actively create in the sense of a gradual process attendant upon mental operations, but rather a sense and consciousness of an ability to project an energy from the I to the me.
Yeah. So the masculine one is not able to create, but it can project energy and push the me,
Which is referred to as willing. It's willing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The will. So by sheer will, a process of willing that the mental creation begin and proceed. So
and I like how it's consistently mentioned. A few times is mentioned, and the I can step back and witness.
Yeah, just like, all right, let's do this.
This is good.
Like, whoa, yeah. So it's kind of the idea is a process of, yeah, just kind of leading, or not leading, but
willing it.
Willing, yeah, willing's the best word.
Yeah.
Let's see. The I represents the masculine principle of gender. The me represents the feminine principle. The I represents the aspect of being. The me, the aspect of becoming.
Yep.
That's an interesting idea.
Yeah, that's where this starts to get really interesting.
You're like, wait, so I get, you know what? It reminds me of like the one's kind of the realistic, or not realistic, but the rational, like, and then the other one's like not unrational, but just kind of the creative, I guess. Yeah.
What I think about a lot is when I was reading this, is there's a few religious contexts that I'm aware of, and there's probably many more that I don't know about. But there's, in Christianity, in some of these religious contexts I'm aware of, there's this concept that God created everything spiritually before they were created physically, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's really like when I first realized what the gender was about, I started really like thinking about that. I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. Yeah, they were only like a concept. They were spiritually created first, but they weren't like created yet.
Yeah.
That was that had to happen on a physical sense. It had to be created. They had to be created. And so the whole process of like creating things like an idea and willing them to be.
Oh, makes it manifest. Yeah, so you got both aspects, because if like you said, the feminine principle is all this creative energy, but it needs to be pushed. You know, like
it has to be willed, and
actually, if you go into like, if you do take the how, you know, the male and female, actual male and female thing, it's all the man does is, you know, contribute a little bit.
Yeah.
But then the female has all this stuff ready to go.
It's ready to go.
The whole thing has been the whole system is built, and all of a sudden the man puts that little energy into it, and then the egg is fertilized, and boom.
All the work
process
happens.
Yeah, it's like the creative, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of that will, or, you know, for lack of a better term, or the just that little creative push. I don't know.
There's even a one of the Corpus Hermeticum texts is Hermes talking to Asclepius, and they're talking about the basically conception.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
And I remember when I first read that, and
like,
I had
what?
not read this. I had not understood this part yet, and I'm like, that's interesting.
These guys are pervs, dude.
Like, why are they talking about this? You know,
Mm-hmm.
It was even mentioning, you know, like the
guy's tired at the end. I remember that. I think I read that to Tanya the other night. I was like, well, listen to this.
It's interesting, but it makes more sense on what the intention of that, you know, why that's something that was written about.
Yeah,
you know.
But I'm saying you got the female, or the feminine, just this creative thing ready to go. If the male, the masculine, will just push it, or just will it, put some energy into it, and all of a sudden there's all this potential, huge potential. And that's where, like, I think it's cool because the whole thing in the earlier part where you talking about the negative and positive, you're kind of like, dude, the feminine part is way bigger, the part that we all like, I mean, the creative part.
Yeah, there's nothing negative about it.
Yeah. So and it goes on to say the tendency of the female principle is always in the direction of receiving impressions, while the tendency of the masculine principle is always in the direction of giving out or expressing.
It's probably why he put a question mark after that line in the previous. Remember how it had a question mark and like, or vice versa?
Or vice versa?
And he put question mark because I don't know if there's an example of it actually going the other direction. And that's why he probably assumed that it could work vice versa in some way, but he wasn't ready to write about it.
Yeah.
So
we'll read the word, the next part where it says the feminine principle conducts.
Yeah. Okay. The feminine principle conducts the work of generating new thoughts, concepts, ideas, including the work of the imagination.
Ooh, imagination.
Yeah.
That's huge. I mean, think about that. It's the imagination is what has created everything, every man-made thing that we.
Correct.
It's every feminine-made thing.
Get it?
But I'm saying we call it man-made, but I'm saying but it was an act of with the masculine and the feminine coming together with the will, like, oh, this actually sounds like it could work.
Yeah.
And kind of that willing, but then the imagination.
The masculine principle contents itself with the work of the, quote, will in its varied phases. And yet, without the active aid of the will of the masculine principle, the feminine principle is apt to rest content with generating mental images which are in the result of impressions received from outside instead of producing original mental creations.
Yeah. So that's how
that's where most people find themselves.
Yeah, we're just
subjective.
A bunch of feminine, mindsets, this creative things, but they're looking for something to push us.
So I think that when in life here, in standard living, you're born, you live your life, you're a child, you're learning what's around you, you're basically sucking everything in, but for most of your youth, or if not all your youth, depending on where your mind's at, I guess. But for myself, I'll just point to myself. I spent most of my life, especially as a child and into adulthood, being almost completely just subjective. Like the outside world is what's planting seeds in my creative process.
Yeah.
And I'm just
like, okay, here's how. Yeah, you're gonna go to school. You're gonna become this. You're gonna.
This is how you think. This is how you act. Yep. This is how you. This is what's acceptable. This is what's not acceptable. All these things, and then a point comes where some people, and this is mentioned in the Corpus Hermeticum, where mind is involved, where some people can step out and go, "Wow, I can actually purposefully use this creative engine I have to build things, to do things with it.
Yeah,
I don't have to just like be subject to all the influences that are around me all the time. I can also choose what happens in there, and how that works.
Yeah,
and that's really the aha moment, is when you're able to step out and realize that, like, oh, I've spent my whole life being just like growing and growing and growing, having outside influences basically planting these seeds and me growing and progressing in different directions. Now I'm aware that the I exists. I can say, I'm going to will, and that's kind of like in a one form, it's kind of like alchemy in a way. I'm going to change this.
Yeah. Yeah, just the idea that the feminine principle rests content with just generating these mental images, but they're being steered by
it's just an engine. It's just like creative
world.
And whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whatever comes its way, it's going to create.
It's like, okay. All right. Well, that's the energy that's being put into it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go with that. Like, oh, dude, like we just get obsessed with these things, but are they really, they're not us. We're not creating our own things. We're letting other things create us.
And I like
whatever,
that imagery in Pomandries of the Corpus Hermeticum Book 1 when there's like this dark swirling mass and all of a sudden like a light pokes out and then like let's build some stuff.
Yeah.
And creation happens.
Yeah, exactly. But it's all, like the earth and the feminine, thing that is doing it.
Correct. Yeah, I like that.
But it says the majority of persons rarely employ the masculine principle, and they live according to the thoughts and ideas instilled into the me from the I of other minds. This is interesting because this is where it's like, hopefully what we said makes sense.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it's really a neat idea, like a concept, the masculine and feminine thing, and you don't want to get caught up in the terms masculine and feminine because it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
But but the majority of us don't, we're being guided about by the I of other people instead of the me, or wait. Yeah. Our me's are being guided by the eyes of other people.
It's hard to say it nicely, but we're kind of just pawns and sheep in a bigger game, and there's others that are aware what kind of influence they can project, and they use it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Well, okay, so then they go into the whole thing of telepathy, thought transference, mental influence, suggestion, hypnotism. These things seem all crazy, right?
Yeah.
Almost like you're like, okay, this is like, and this is a big thing back in the early turn of the century.
Yeah, it was big back then.
It was huge. Like, yeah, and actually mesmerism was something that was really new.
Okay.
There was a guy, his last name was Mesmer.
Oh, I didn't know
That's
that.
the word, the term mesmerism.
I didn't know that, yeah.
Anyway, so somebody had, it was an ancient thing, but somebody had newly discovered it, and then they started employing it, being like, whoa, you can do all this stuff. And there was all kinds of, there's, I don't know. Anyway, there's all kinds of like stories about people being taken under,
influence,
control,
suggestion and stuff.
I mean, there's whole MK Ultra and all those different things with the governments trying to figure out how to really control people, like actually literally control them to be brainwashed and
scary stuff.
And this scary stuff. So I'm saying they use terms like telepathy, mental influence, suggestion, but these are actually things that are used in ads and all kinds of things. Propaganda, yeah.
Look at the media
they're
right
real.
now. It's heavy. The media is heavy right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, I'm saying we're coming into every 4 years there's a big presidential
we have an election year happening
everything.
here in the States.
And I'm saying there's both. Everybody's releasing their propaganda to say, and they're putting terms in our heads. Oh, this, just these slogans and stuff to try to plant these things into our heads. Anyway, so let's get into this a little bit. So it's saying, in light of Hermetic teachings, these things will start to make sense if we take, like the hypnotism and all that if we look at the masculine and feminine principle, and we can see how people actually use these things to get into your mind or to control your mind in a way.
Did you get any further in that foundation book at all?
Somewhat, yeah.
Okay.
I need to finish it.
I think about that a little bit sometimes. It's like
dang it. I'll finish it because it was really good. But okay, so here, read in the phenomenon.
In the phenomenon of telepathy, it is seen how the vibratory energy of the masculine principle is projected toward the feminine principle of another person.
Okay, so you got the masculine principle, the thing that's
Mm-hmm.
the will
Yep.
is going towards the feminine principle. Okay.
And the latter takes the seed thought as one word, seed hyphen thought, and allows it to develop into maturity. That's where I thought of the foundation thing. Like you let something grow slowly. You know?
So
In the same way, suggestion and hypnotism operates.
okay, so the masculine principle of the person giving the suggestion directs a stream of vibratory energy or willpower towards the feminine principle of the other person. They say a slogan, let's just say.
Mm-hmm.
So the feminine principle is like ready to create.
Yeah.
So they give this slogan, and it's leaning a certain way, for a certain energy, whatever.
Or a catchy aphorism or
Yeah.
axiom or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what happened? So all of a sudden, little, and it can be just a little thing, something, and then all of a sudden, that idea gets it is the feminine part takes it and starts working with it and creating all these different things with it.
Little do they know that it's growing, that it's starting to like grow in their mind slowly. They're churning over the idea of it. Even when they say, "Oh yeah, I don't agree with that," or "I don't do that."
Yeah. Like, no, I'm not, well, where did you get your ideas? And it's like, if you really think about that and think about a lot of, just most of our ideas.
Yeah,
Like,
or not all of
where
them.
did it come? Well, I don't know. I heard it somewhere. So an idea thus lodged in the mind of another person grows and develops, like you were saying, and in time is regarded as the rightful mental offspring of the individual. And it says, whereas in reality, it is like the cuckoo egg placed in the sparrow's nest, where it destroys the rightful offspring and makes itself at home.
Nice imagery there.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the scariest but most interesting ideas is you're like, whoa, dude, I'm just like I'm a puppet on a string, We're all just walking around with these ideas that we're like thinking are our own, but they're not. We're being hit by all different things we read, and we're trying to, but most of us are just going through our lives and this is my idea. I'm this way because this, but it's like, well, that was the way I was raised. That's the way. Well, who says that your parents were right? Even
Exactly.
what do they know? Nothing, because it was somebody else that gave them their ideas. So, and a lot of times we're raised with a lot of bad ideas and bad habits and different things. So, but the masculine principle in the average person is too lazy to act. And the consequence is that such persons are ruled almost entirely by the minds and the wills of other people, whom they allow to do their thinking and the willing for them. And that's the state of the world as a majority. It's and if you look out, if you see it.
Oh yeah.
It's just, I see it all the time, and I'm like, and I'm in it too.
I don't do that though.
Brandon's out, but me, I'm like, please, Brandon, just give me a phrase, Do you want another?
Yeah, can I get a different drink? What do you got there? Anything, you just choose. I am so confident in Mark's judgment. I don't even care what he gets.
That's what you brought.
Bless your soul, man.
Okay. So anyway, well, where is this?
Could not have been better choice.
Like, you brought it.
I brought it. I'm going on 2 days of like hardly any sleep. You notice my reading has been lackluster today?
No, I thought you were very clear.
Oh, thank you.
So the trouble is that the average person dwells almost together in the me consciousness, in thinking your body and all this, that's you.
Have we got the shadows and echoes part yet?
What's shadows?
Have we passed
and
the
echoes?
shadows and echoes part yet?
I don't know. I may not have that in my book.
No, we got the same book.
He is polarized in the feminine principle. So remember polarization.
Mm-hmm.
He's polarized in this feminine thing where, they want to create no matter what's being given. Boing, boing,
Yeah.
boing, boing, boing. But it's just like, I create. This is, and the masculine principle is just weak. It's that will is not. So, and the masculine principle in which is laws of will is allowed to remain inactive and unemployed.
So years ago, we were in Porter's class, and he said something that I have repeated over the years many times.
Okay,
I've enjoyed it.
We'll repeat it here.
He said a few things that were on this topic, but one of the things that I keep on thinking about is, he's always say, "There's nothing new under the sun." He's always say that, But the other thing that he used to often say is we are going to create. We are going to think. We are going to build things. It's in our nature. We are going to build things.
But what are we going to build? Or go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I'll
he must have read the Kybalion, because. But what?
Well, Porter, man, I don't know what he read everything.
Yeah, but we're going to build. We're going to move. We're going to be changing. Whether it's by our decision or not,
Mm-hmm.
And I think about that, and I'm like, yeah, he understood that, He has he's a very intellectual guy.
Yeah.
But he understood that was. Do you remember he mentioned the whole the greatest, there's only, all the stories are created from the same story too.
Yeah.
And
well, it was the hero with 1,000 faces.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of thing. It's the archetype.
Exactly.
Archetypal.
Yeah. I don't know if we met. So here's what I think you. So I love this line. Okay.
Okay. Well,
how few original thoughts or original actions are performed by the average person. Are not a majority of persons mere shadows and echoes of others having stronger wills or minds than themselves. I love that. Shadows and echoes.
Okay, that's where you're talking about. I was like, what shadows and echoes?
The trouble is that the average person dwells almost altogether in his me. I think we did go over that, but
no, that's fine. Well, so and we see this manifest, like we were saying. You're going to create, but are you creating, or are you being, or by your will, or you having somebody else creating? So they take the example, look at the strong people, how they manage to implant their seed thoughts in the minds of the masses of the people. I mean, think about this. What are they called? Influencers?
Yeah.
This is this new thing, influencers, and
I was telling Ann about that the other day. Yeah,
they're the worst people, but they're influencers.
Yeah, it's a phenomenon of anything today. I don't want to burn bridges here, but I can't believe that there is such a thing right now.
But I mean, I'm saying, but think about what they're called. It's not even subtle.
No, I know.
It's like influencers, and it's like, okay, I'm going to take a picture of my butt or whatever,
That's like the thing that happens.
Yeah.
So when someone first, I'm not on Instagram or any of those things.
No, me either.
When someone mentioned when someone first told me about an influencer, I was like, yeah, I know what the word influencer means. I know what influence means. What about them? Like, no, they're an influencer. I'm like, they're influential?
Like how?
Yeah, they're influential. And then no, they're an influencer. I think they get paid.
Yeah, they do.
I'm like,
well, I'm saying, but if you look, if a lot of these kind of people, you'll see them, but the things that they're putting out are just the same things you can hear anywhere. A lot of them.
Yeah, sure. Nothing influential.
Nothing new, because the influencers are influenced by other influencers, higher influencers. And if they say along the right message, they'll be able to make money or whatever. But
the chain of influencers.
So But anyway, so look at the strong people, how they manage to implant their seed thoughts in the minds of the masses of the people, thus causing the latter to think thoughts in accordance with the desires and wills of the strong individuals. This is why the masses of people
Ooh.
are such sheep-like creatures, never
man.
originating an idea of their own. And that's like, ouch.
Nor
Like, dude,
using their own
the three
powers of
initiates
mental
just
activity.
slapped me in the face.
Yeah, that's a big one. That was worse. That's more. That's more. That's bigger than the shadows and egos part.
Yeah. Okay, I've got I have an example.
Mark is going to pull something out of the Holy Bible
itself. The greatest book. Okay.
The greatest book.
The greatest book.
The greatest
All right.
book.
Okay, so there, at the Adam and Eve story. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
in the Kabbalah,
Yeah.
they take these stories and they say there's a deeper meaning. Then they're like, if it's the more weird the story seems, where you're like, okay, there's a serpent talking to a snake, and they're in this secret,
the more of a story it is.
garden. The more story it is, the more actual there's a symbolic meaning to it. Okay. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, ye shall not eat. Ye shall not eat. Yea, hath God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? He's like, didn't God say that you're going to eat every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. So, the feminine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying,
I'm not allowed to eat this one, though.
Like, she's like, well, yeah, but God put this thought into my mind.
Yeah.
God's given me the rule, right? And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. For God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as the gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree, all of a sudden, this new thought was put into her, the feminine.
Yep.
When the woman saw that the tree was good for food, it's like, okay.
Yeah, good point.
Hey, you won't die. Yeah. That it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto the masculine, her husband, with her, and he did eat.
Question mark.
Huh?
Vice versa. Question mark.
Oh, okay, yeah. And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves and made themselves aprons. So
they like moved. They progressed a little bit.
Okay, I was just taking that story. Okay, if we take the story, and instead of being like the woman, the man, if you take it, the mind. Okay, you got the feminine principle. What would happen? The feminine principle is creative, and like taking the thought or the will, and then would follow it and create. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I do.
So God said the one thing. All of a sudden, another thing comes along, and puts its will and idea, plants that into the head, the feminine principle, or the feminine mentality, and says, well, yeah, okay, that was said, but guess what? Hey, you're not, it's good for you, actually. This tastes good. And actually in different ones, actually the snake actually eats it and different things. Anyway, and then so the creative mind takes that idea and says, yeah, okay. So she being acted upon. And so then whenever the feminine aspect partakes of the fruit, then both then the whole thing is subject to partakes the fruit. I don't know if I'm making sense.
So what does the reptile represent, or the serpent?
Just other influences. In my little analogy.
Yeah.
And my it's the world, being the outside influence.
Yeah.
An influence contrary to maybe what's good for you or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you go on to, after Adam and Eve are, God kind of confronts them, and then they are. If you take it in the mind, okay, I don't know if I'm going too far with this, but
No, you're not.
The different roles, God says unto the feminine aspect of mind, let's just say that, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow shalt thou bring forth children, or creations,
Okay.
And thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. Remember, will.
Mm-hmm.
So, if the masculine part wills it, he can hone the your creative energy or whatever. So take in mind, and he says unto the masculine, because thou hast hearkened unto the feminine part of the mind, and hast eaten of the tree of which you weren't supposed to, thou shalt not cursed is the ground for thy sake, and sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. Thorns and also thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat of the herb of the field. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat thy bread, till thou return unto the ground, for out of it wast thou taken, and for dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. So basically, the masculine part is all work, no play. Kind of along the lines of that will.
Yeah.
Like, hey, it's going to be hard. You're going to have to work, but you can make something of the world.
Yep. It's a lot easier to just not work.
Yeah. So, but if you want to make something of it, thorns and thistles, you're going to, by the sweat of thy brow, or by the hard work of your mind, you'll be able to make something of this world.
So what I think is interesting about,
I don't know, I probably wouldn't.
What I think is interesting, and I think that was awesome, Mark. I never thought about it that way. What I think it was interesting about that, though, is that there's two characters here. The real two characters are the serpent and God.
Well, this is the Kabbalah.
Yeah, but the real two characters in this perspective are the serpent and God.
Well, I know, but I'm saying.
Yeah. So the serpent, I don't think that there's any I don't think that the serpent could have been any animal. I think that they had to use a serpent on that, right? The serpent represents your primitive, very low level,
brain.
the reptile brain.
Oh, yeah.
So we need our need and our desires and our wants planted a seed because the eye wasn't doing its.
Well, okay, remember they were separated. So at the time, we'll just say the masculine wasn't there, or wasn't even trying it,
Correct.
Trying to will. So guess okay.
So after the reptile mind convinces the feminine, the subjective mind, okay, you need this to live.
Yeah.
Like, you have to do this. Like, you're right, I have to do this. The feminine mind does that. The subjective mind does that.
Mm-hmm.
And then God steps in and goes, okay, all right, let's practice.
He reteaches.
Let me
the
teach you
principle.
how to not listen to the reptile mind.
How to work.
Let me teach you how to listen to the.
So actually, he's giving them
mind.
instructions instead of like, dude, you're screwed. Like, woman, it's gonna be hard birth. Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's pretty good. It's
yeah,
pretty
he's actually saying, okay, guys. Okay, obviously I need to reiterate what's going on, and this is how you can make it in the world and actually re-enter the garden.
You have to be present. You actually like have to be present in order to go the direction that, in order to raise those 7 levels, in order to like break through the harmony.
Yeah.
You actually have to like be present.
Work together.
Yeah, work together. And
Yeah.
that working together
Yeah.
is actually
Yeah.
the whole, like I think the spark of the whole reason why the gender is its own principle. It's about working together. It's about like,
well,
it's a play on the whole divine paradox.
You know what?
You want to be here. You want to spend all your time here, but guess what? You need to respect the physical. You have to. You need each other.
You know what? Whenever they separate,
we'll call it the gender paradox.
Yeah.
Instead of the divine paradox.
What happens is that the Lord caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, right? And he took one of his ribs or sides,
Mm-hmm.
and then he closed up the flesh, So he separated the masculine from the feminine mind. Let's just go with this.
Sure.
And then he presents it to the hey, look, Adam, this is now a bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man. So they separated this thing. Wait. Where was I going with this? I was saying the creative power. So the thing was separated. I was thinking about
you reference
the whole idea of cleave unto his wife.
Yeah, you're gonna reference
and
how
they shall be one flesh.
Yeah.
I was like, but okay, you're always like, well, what is that? But I'm saying, if you take the the reproductive thing, like you're actually taking, so much DNA here, so much DNA, and creating a whole new creative thing, a new life. I don't know where.
It was deep.
No, whatever.
No, you started going there because I mentioned how you got to work together.
Oh yeah.
And that made you think about like.
Yeah. So anyway, you got to work together, create, and overcome that serpent, because the serpent wants to keep that separation, to keep both separate.
Yeah.
That's the biggest
he didn't
thing,
bring them both together and say, here's what I think you both should do.
No, he's like, hey, I can take advantage of this.
Yeah.
So anyway, just be careful out there. Do not eat fruit from strange snakes.
You knew what I was.
You knew. Yeah, and don't carry him down the hill either. But I'm saying, I thought it was interesting though, the way that they went into the whole hypnotism and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Like, I was like, ooh, this is where the dark turns.
It's interesting that this principle of gender really has nothing to do with the gender that we talk about today.
That's what I'm saying. And that's where, even when I was talking about this, I kept on slipping up and saying male, female, when I mean mask, because that's just, we have a binary way of thinking.
Correct.
I mean, but
dualistic.
That's not and that's what they were trying to explain in this, is that it's not even what you think. We're talking about creativity and how the mind works. It's not about men and women,
No.
because we all have, men and women have the masculine and feminine principles inside of them.
Correct.
So anyway.
And if the rest of the principles, if according to the principle of polarity and vibration, even though so let's say in the physical plane, I know this is not what we're talking about here, but if on the physical plane, I'm born, and Mother Nature builds this body, and it on an interpreted vibration of gender. I come out as a boy. Okay, that's the template I was given based upon something that I don't understand. But the thing is where, according to the principle of polarity and of vibration, my physical form might be a man, but like I can vibrate between the poles when needed on different aspects of life.
Yeah.
And we don't have that in our culture, at least here in this where we're at here. In our culture, there's a big strong like you know, when I was growing up, I wasn't allowed to like the color pink.
Did you?
No.
Oh.
But what I'm saying is, like, I don't think most of us were, right? We're programmed.
It's girls' color.
Exactly.
Doi.
Exactly. We're programmed like this is what boys do, this is what girls do. Mm-hmm. And there's no respect for the fact that we are able to vibrate where we need to vibrate.
Yeah.
That's a different topic, I guess.
That is a different topic.
And I'm not going to go further on that, but I think that like you have to respect the fact that we are. It is not like you said, cut and dry. We are one or the other.
Well, I'm saying, yeah, it's not. That's not even they don't even say anything like that. They're just like there's this in the mental thing. There's both.
It's
got both.
Everything's dualistic.
So we'll just end with this then.
Okay.
The student may acquaint himself with these matters, and by using the theory of mental gender, he will be able to bring order out of the chaos of conflicting theory and teachings, and may, moreover, readily make himself a master of the subject if he be so inclined. Dude, be a master of your universe. We can't all be He-Man or She-Man or She-Ra, but be a master of your universe. There we go.
I agree with that. Thanks, Mark.
All right. Thanks. I hope there was something in here because I really did dig into this and try to make sense of it because it was confusing for me sometimes. It was. But when I dug into it, I was like, whoa, there's a lot of neat stuff in here. So hopefully you got something out of it.
Yeah. Be conscious about placing those thoughts on your own.
Yeah. Yeah. Think, is this my thought? You know, or where did this thought come from? Is it just the cuckoo's egg?
Ooh, yeah.
In my sparrow's nest?
Nice. I love that imagery.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching.
We'll obviously be on a non-Kybalion next time.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
What are we going to do next time? That's a big question.
Yeah. We'll see what happens.
All right. Thanks.
Talk to you later.
Bye.